An estimated 100,000 people gathered at the dock in Belfast, Ireland on March 31, 1911, to watch the launch of the Royal Mail ship RMS Titanic. Considered to be an unsinkable ship, Titanic was the largest and most luxurious cruise liner of its day, measuring more than 882 feet long from prow to stern, the length of 4 city blocks, and 175 feet high, and weighing more than 46,000 tons. It boasted state-of-the-art technology, including a sophisticated electrical control panel, 4 elevators, and an advanced wireless communication system that could transmit Morse Code. On 10 April 1912, when the largest ocean liner in service at that time, RMS Titanic, started its maiden voyage from Southampton, it was a new beginning in history. With at least 2,224 people on board, including a number of prominent personalities, the luxury ship that was nicknamed Millionaire's Special was en route to New York City on that day. Designed to be the epitome of style and safety, the vessel featured many advanced luxury and safety features. Moreover, the unsinkable RMS Titanic was commanded by a senior captain, 62-year-old Captain Edward Smith, again ensuring the safety of the vessel and its passengers. However, the destiny of this spectacular ship was already made. On the 14th of April, the world witnessed what could easily be considered as its most deadly civilian maritime disaster, the sinking of the great ship Titanic. On that fateful night, at around 11:40 p.m., Titanic struck an iceberg off the coast of Newfoundland and began to sink. Over the course of the next few hours, people witnessed the biggest catastrophe to hit the world, and at 2:20 a.m. on the morning of the 15th, the biggest ship that the world had seen settled to the bottom of the North Atlantic. The sea, the sinking of the ship, and the cold weather were enough to take the lives of 1,517 passengers and crew on board. Just 706 of them survived the ordeal to tell the horrific and sad tale to the world. Why the unsinkable Titanic sunk? As the news of the Titanic disaster reached land, there was a shock and outrage directed against several issues that possibly led to the accident. Many legends and conspiracy theories arose almost immediately after the accident on those who died and survived, and also on the reasons behind the sinking of the vessel. How did the Titanic sink in spite of having the best technical design available at the time seemed a mystery for a long time. This was the question that baffled many scientists and engineers for days after the disaster. Immediately after sinking, the investigations into the matter began, and in fact, 2 separate inquiries had been set up, one by the United States Senate and the other by the British Board of Trade. The U.S. inquiry was headed by Senator William Alden Smith, and the British one by Lord Mersey. The surviving passengers and the very crew who managed to escape from the clutches of death gave their versions of the tragedy, and the investigations were concluded quickly, though the initial questioning and detail gathering took more than a few months. The results of the investigation revealed that many of the safety measures and regulations of the International Maritime were outdated and required a second look. The ship itself was found short on a few of the standards. Here are some of the major causes of the Titanic tragedy. 1. Dismissal of iceberg warnings. Due to the weather conditions in the North Atlantic at the time, the threat of icebergs was high in the region of the Titanic's crossing. Reports revealed that the Titanic received at least 6 messages from other vessels in the area warning of drifting ice. The public inquiries had found the captain of Titanic failed to offer proper attention to the iceberg warnings. Almost an hour before the collision, Titanic's radio operator dismissed a key iceberg warning from a nearby ship, California, since he considered it a non-urgent message because the warning didn't begin with the prefix MSG, Master's Servicegram, and didn't pass it on to the captain. 2. High speed of the ship. The ship's high speed in waters where the presence of ice had been reported was criticized by many, including survivors and investigators, after the accident. Reports revealed that the Titanic, minutes before the collision, was traveling at a speed of 22 knots through the water of the North Atlantic. 3. The Titanic's builders tried to cut costs. In 1985, when an American-French expedition finally located the historic wreck, investigators discovered that, contrary to earlier findings, the Titanic had not sunk intact after hitting the iceberg, but had broken apart on the ocean's surface. Materials scientists Tim Folk and Jennifer Hooper McCarty have cast blame on the more than 3 million rivets that held the hull's steel plates together. They examined rivets brought up from the wreck and found them to contain a high concentration of slag, a smelting residue that can make metal split apart. This may have weakened the part of the Titanic's hull that hit the iceberg, causing it to break apart upon impact. 4. There weren't enough lifeboats. No matter what caused the Titanic to sink, such a massive loss of life could probably have been avoided if the ship had carried sufficient lifeboats for its passengers and crew. But the White Star liner left Southampton with only 20 lifeboats, the legal minimum, and a total capacity of 1,178 people. Though Maurice Clark, the civil servant who inspected the Titanic in Southampton, recommended it carry 50% more lifeboats, his handwritten notes at the time later revealed that he felt his job would be threatened if he did not give the famous ship the go-ahead to sail. Due to the chaos that ensued after the Titanic struck an iceberg, the 20 lifeboats departed the ship with some 400 empty seats, leaving more than 1,500 people to perish in the frigid ocean waters. 5. A wrong turn to avoid the iceberg? A claim made by Louise Patton, the granddaughter of the most senior ship officer to survive, stated that the confusion caused and the wrong turn took may have made the disaster worse. According to Patton, a decision to turn the ship hard to starboard was passed down the line after sighting the iceberg, but the steersman misinterpreted it as make the ship turn right, moving the ship directly toward the ice. 6. Lookouts had no binoculars. Impossible to think with a ship like Titanic, but it was true. Because of a mix-up before starting the voyage from Southampton, the lookouts of the ship had no binoculars. The binoculars were locked up since the key to the store of binoculars was with Second Officer David Blair, who was transferred off the ship before it started. While it has been argued that the binoculars might have helped the lookouts to spot the iceberg in time, some have argued that binoculars would not have been effective during the night. Similarly, though it has been mentioned in almost all the journals of the time, and indeed later as well, that Titanic was considered unsinkable, this wasn't said by any of the owners or manufacturers at the time of its launch. It was picked by the press on the 16th of April when the vice president of White Star Line, owners of Titanic, Philip A.S. Franklin, reacted by saying that he thought the ship was unsinkable and was very shocked as to how did the Titanic sink. The Titanic tragedy has remained one of the most intriguing aspects of the history of the world. Even a century later, the tragedy of Titanic has been studied in detail, becoming a subject for artists, filmmakers, and writers. At the same time, ever since the accident, a number of wild conspiracy theories have also bounced around, describing the cause of this maritime disaster. Are you aware of any such theories and believe those are true? Tell us, why do you think that would be the reason behind the Titanic disaster?